We've had main characters reincarnated as vending machines, spiders, slimes. Well, how about we just go all in and be a sword? Hello everybody and welcome to this light novel review. I'm Justus R. Stone and on my channel I cover all things light novels, reviews like this one, news, podcasts, all to grow the light novel fandom and to help you find a new light novel series to love. So if you haven't already done it, make sure you hit that subscribe button to keep up with all of my future light novel content. In this video I'm going to be talking about volume number 1 of Yuu Tanaka's light novel series Reincarnated as a Sword. It has artwork by Lo. It's released officially in English by 7 Seas with a translation by Mike Rachmat. If you want to pick up your own copy, I've got links in the description down below. Now list this as another entry in the category of the title gives you the bulk of the main plot. Yes, we have a man who's in his 30s who is a businessman in modern day Japan who dies and finds himself, well, reincarnated as a sword. The opening of this book has our main character as a sword, well, using magic and such to float himself around, and eventually he starts finding that monsters are in his vicinity and he starts killing them, and as he kills them and devours the crystals that reside within them, he discovers that he learns new abilities and that he gets stronger. And for about the first third of this book, we have our sword flying about, killing ever increasingly stronger monsters, upping his stats and boosting his number of abilities, until eventually he finds himself in a forest that for some reason he can't use his magic in, and he just is stuck there in the ground. That until 12-year-old Fran, a cat girl who happens to be a slave, discovers the sword, pulls him from the ground, and the two of them become partners. Now I'll be honest, the first third part of this book where the sword is flying about and killing monsters and taking a look at what his stats are and his skills and his abilities and how he can combine these abilities to work with these abilities, and oh, I've created this attack that I do, blah blah blah. Yeah, I got to admit, the beginning of this book was a bit of a slog for me. Unlike, say, a title like So I'm a Spider, So What, where the character using those skills and abilities in a clever way actually contributed to her survival, it never really feels like the sword's in that much danger in the beginning of this. And honestly, you don't even really think there's a reason for him to be doing this. He seemed perfectly safe where he was. It really just kind of feels like he's doing it because he's bored. And even the discussions about him sort of moralizing about why he doesn't seem to have any problem killing things can actually feel a little bit uncomfortable and a little bit forced. So initially, I was not, enraptured by this book. I was not like burning through the pages. But I stuck with it. And I stuck with it because of Fran. Because so many people told me Fran is a great character. Once she comes into this story, she is much more like the main character than the actual sword. And it's a good book. So I hung in there until Fran showed up. And hoo boy, let me tell you, I'm glad I did. Fran is a 12-year-old cat girl who is a slave, and now if you're one of those people that's had a problem with the somewhat slave apologist tone of a lot of light novels, well, maybe you'll appreciate how the sword that Fran ends up dubbing Teacher deals with slavers. Or maybe you'll think it's too extreme. I don't know, but let's just say there ain't no apologies happening in this book. Once Teacher and Fran team up, this becomes a much better book, a much more enjoyable book, and a book that I found really compulsively readable. The book is told in the first person from the swords, from Teacher's point of view, so it's kind of a good thing, I would say, because Fran is one of those characters that is of few words, and yet at the same time is horribly adorable with her little fist pumps when she wins and stuff like that. She is one of those characters that I think if we were inside her head, it might not be as enjoyable. Instead, watching her from Teacher's point of view, who takes on a very paternalistic approach to her, is actually quite heartwarming because he has such pride and happiness in seeing her grow and be happy. It's also nice because it kind of removes the whole creepy narrative of an older dude and a lolly. But what Fran really does for this book that Teacher can't do alone is give there a reason for things to be happening in this book, giving a reason for Teacher to become stronger, better, smarter, more powerful. Fran is a girl from the black cat race. They are almost all slaves because they are one of the few beastman races that is incapable, at least people believe they're incapable, of what they call evolving, which means they aren't capable of becoming truly strong and powerful and fearsome, and so they are taken advantage of and used very much as slave labor. Fran's goal is not just to not be a slave, is not just about leading a better life for herself. Fran's goal is to become powerful, to evolve, to show that the black cats are actually a people capable of great things so that they will stop being looked down on and taken advantage of. With a very laudable goal and a thing that and a character you can actually really get behind, it makes this book so much more fun. And because there is this very sweet relationship between Fran and Teacher, this sort of father-daughter, this idea of teacher and pupil type relationship, the two of them are really fun to read together. And even because they are sort of user and sword, they have a mental link so that we even get some conversations of them commenting on people that they've met where they're sharing their thoughts so that the other people can't hear them. And there's some really entertaining points of view that the two of them share. Fran is also a character that is not to be underestimated. We actually find out very early on that she tried to kill the slavers who owned her herself, and that the only reason she was still a slave was because unfortunately she failed. And, well, let's just say Fran suffers no fools, especially once she gets stronger with using Teacher. It makes her a character that's a lot of fun, a character you can root for, and that you can feel good when she is doing good things. And as I said, it gives a reason and it makes you want Teacher to become stronger because his strength becomes Fran's strength. And it also means that you've got a duo of characters that are in a relationship that doesn't have to creep you out. It's a very nice relationship, and it's also a relationship where the power balance, even though Teacher is technically more powerful than Fran, you realize that the two of them are still far stronger and far better when they are together, and they themselves know that as well, which makes it a really nice relationship to read and see and want to see grow further. Not to mention that it also becomes a bit of a dungeon diver, which honestly I'm always kind of a sucker for. All in all, Reincarnated as a Sword isn't going to rewrite the rules of isekai. It isn't going to do things that are entirely new and awe-inspiring. However, it does give us some cool characters that we can root for. And in particular, Fran, this character that I just absolutely was happy every single time that she was in the book. And so going forward, this is definitely a series I would like to read more of. I think it's just going to be one of those ones that you pick up for fun and that you enjoy and that you really just want to see, in particular, this character's journey as she goes along. In this video, I want to say a special thanks to Philip Vosseberg, Mirage, Ricardo Matos, and Jean-Luc Chartier for their support on Patreon, as well as the support of all of my patrons who help me to buy books for review here on the channel, as well as to pay for additional hosting for the Light Novel podcast so we can be on as many platforms and reach as many people as possible. For my next review, I'm leaving isekais behind and, well, not exactly getting away from supernatural type stuff, but we're actually going to go with vampires and the end of the world this time, and that's going to be volume number 1 of Seraph of the End, Guren Ichinose Resurrection at 19. So this is the follow-up to Guren Ichinose, the Catastrophe at 16, and of course both of these series prequels to the Seraph of the End manga series. So that'll be my next review. If you haven't done so already, hit subscribe so you don't miss that video or any of my future videos. In the meantime, thanks so much for watching this one. I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Till then, bye-bye for now.